Okay, this video is Starbucks coffee good for you, healthy for you? And so where this comes from is a viewer asked me to do a video about Starbucks coffee. I went through a phase where I was drinking Starbucks coffee when I was in my fat phase. I was fat for a couple of years in my mid-30s. I did a fellowship. I was trying to do two fellowships simultaneously. That's called fast tracking a fellowship, working from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. I got real fat. I got up to 220 pounds, which is pretty fat for me. Then I started going plant-based, and I had to quit. I was drinking 7 mocha frappuccino Starbucks coffees a day. Now, I'm not saying there's anything unique about Starbucks coffee. I think all these coffees with the cream and the other stuff they put in them are bad for your health. I'm going to explain why. And I also think, this whole idea with doctors, they brag about, the surgeons especially, their lack of sleep and how much coffee they drink. And usually everybody in the whole group making rounds drinks coffee from the senior attendings on down. And it's a stupid habit. It's a sign of ignorance. One more sign that doctors don't know what they're doing. Drinking coffee doesn't mean you're cool. It means you're ignorant. Okay, so anyways, I lost the weight from 220 down to 154. That's what I look like after I lost the weight there. Okay, now let's just go through an ingredient list real quick here. Okay, so here's just one version. There's a bunch of different Starbucks coffee, but I just want to give you a little idea what's in these ingredients. So first of all, there's just the generic stuff. Caffeine, okay? It's a vasoconstrictor to the brain, significantly lowers blood flow to your frontal lobes, increases the same hormones of stress, catecholamines, and uses adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. So it basically mimics a huge stress. That's going to decrease your sleep, the depth of your sleep, increases your blood pressure, your heart rate, increases your risk of atrial fibrillation, palpitations, arrhythmias. If it's in a plastic cup and it's hot, it can melt the plastic into the cup. And again, this is not something specific to Starbucks. This is any type of coffee, but other things. Typically it'll have milk in it. The milk, it's a dairy. So dairy is an unhealthy thing. It typically is full of sat fat, animal protein, estrogenic chemicals, because the cows are typically pregnant nowadays when they make the milk. Dairy increases constipation, increases risk of leaky gut, autoimmune disease, type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, etc. Increases the risk of autoimmune disease with the leaky gut, increases the risk of prostate cancer, and animal studies increases the risk of metastatic cancer. Again, this is anybody putting milk in their coffee, okay? It's not a smart thing to do. Artificial flavors, natural flavors can often be MSG or MFG, manufactured free glutamate. That's a stimulant and excitotoxin, not good for you. Citric acid can often be a way to hide manufactured free glutamate. Same thing with carrageenan. Carrageenan is an emulsifier. It's associated also with leaky gut, which means increased risk of autoimmune disease, means increased risk of postprandial endotoxemia. The bacterial endotoxins getting across the leaky gut into the blood, making it prothrombotic, amyloid mechanism of causing increased clotting by distorting the shape of the fibrinogen. Amyloid transition from alpha helix secondary protein structure to beta pleated sheet, where they stack up and they precipitate out of blood solution, thus form a clot. Mono and diglycerides can contain trans fats. They're also a type of emulsifier. They're associated with increased risk of cerebral vascular disease. Salt, when it's in there, typically that's sodium chloride. It's a vasoconstrictor, inhibits endothelial nitric oxide, associated with increased blood pressure. It's harmful to the kidneys. It's not good. Sugar, what's the sugar made of? I don't know. I'll predict it's from corn syrup of some sort. Then it's unlikely to be organic, so it's probably sprayed with atrazine. If it's high fructose corn syrup, it could possibly contain HG. The mocha sauce, who knows what that is. Water, it's probably, I'm going to guess it's tap water. I don't know for sure. Then that could contain F- is typically in tap water. Al is typically in tap water. They're both toxic to the brain. So you look at this, you got a minimum of 3 neurotoxins, because you got the F-, the Al, and then the MSG or MFG, and it's probably a lot of MSG or MFG, given that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 mechanisms whereby it could be added in there. You got all this fat in there, increasing the risk of insulin resistance and diabetes. Cocoa, I don't know if it comes from powder or not, but anything that comes from powder can be contaminated with heavy metals to make it heavier. Potassium sorbate is associated with DNA damage. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, there's nothing good here. There's no reason to drink this stuff. You don't need this caffeine. If you've been up all night and now you have to drive home in a lot of traffic, okay, that'd be a good reason for caffeine. But other than that, it doesn't do you well, and anything that hurts your sleep in the long run is not going to be beneficial to you. And I know there's a bunch of other different types of coffee. They're all bad. Some of them are really high in fat. There was some sort of like peppermint Frappuccino ice cream or something. So anyways, all I'd say is I wouldn't drink any of this stuff. And I wouldn't say it just has to be Starbucks. Any of these coffees, they're all bad. All of this stuff is bad. It's all for chumps. You don't need this stuff. I don't drink any coffee. None. Zero. I've got other lectures on coffee and tea. They're all bad for you. I don't recommend any of them.